So Java definition says that Java is an object-oriented programming language. Oops, language. Correct? Then, what are those object-oriented features? What are those object-oriented programming features? So, if you have any idea, can you please? To start with, there is a class concept, then followed by object. These two are a pair of concepts together. Next, encapsulation, and then followed by abstraction. Encapsulation, then abstraction. These two are again one pair of concepts. That's these two. The next, inheritance and also polymorphism. So these are the next pair of concepts. Yeah. So then, what is this? The first feature called class. So for that, what is a class? If you get a cross question or if you get any question in the interview, what's your definition? Class is a virtual entity. Virtual entity, or you can use class is a model, or you can say class is a blueprint. Then the next part of this class definition is class is a virtual entity and class is used to create the object. Class is used to create the object. Then, so this second part of definition, that is class is used to create the object, we'll discuss once we move to object concept. So first thing is class is a virtual entity. So what is the meaning of this? We have to understand. So before I go for a programmatic example, let us take one real life example. It is nothing but whenever a family is going to construct a house, if a family is planning to construct a house, directly will they go and construct on the land, or they'll have something before that? What is that? So on a plain paper, on a drawing sheet maybe, so they'll be having some plan, like where is the entrance, and where is the which side we have to walk and all those things. Then inside this house, then where the room has to come, and inside this where is the kitchen, and where is the hall, where is this bedrooms and all those things. We definitely will be having a proper plan, then only we go for the construction of it. Correct or not? So at the same time, if you are want to purchase a mobile, assume that we are purchasing through any of the e-commerce applications, say Flipkart. So I want to buy something like some Apple mobile. So what we'll do in Flipkart, we'll do a search of Apple phones, and there will like some model, and that model features that we'll observe, like this memory is how much, RAM is how much, or storage capacity, whatever it is. The next, the types of how much is the screen size, and then some features that we'll be observing. Correct? So here, after few days of this plan, the house is going to be constructed or not in a real way. Yes. So once we check the mobile phone on this e-commerce application, and if we place the order, then are we going to receive the same thing, or we are going to receive some different thing? Same thing only we are going to receive it. But as long as it was a plan on the paper, sorry, as long as it was just verified on this application, the Flipkart application, is it real or it's not real? It's not real. Does this house occupies any space on the paper? It occupies any space? No. Does this mobile phone holds any weight and all those things? No, it is just we are experiencing by checking over the possible applications and all. At the same time, I want to buy a car. First, I'll see in some website. Is that is a real car? No. But once we go to showroom, then can we experience the same thing of the excuse me, some drive space and driving flexibility and all those things? Yes. So as long as it becomes the real construction, as long as it is delivered to our hands, then these are nothing but something as virtually they are there. Correct or not? Then later on, the real thing is going to happen. That is nothing but with the help of the object. That we'll discuss later. And one more thing. Sorry. So here I'm giving a real life example of why a class is virtual entity. But programmatically also we'll be discussing after understanding some points. So first, since class is our new concept, so for every new concept, the syntax has to be understood. The syntax for a Java class creation is access modifier space class space class name. I'm using Angular brackets. Then open curly brace to start, closed curly brace to end. Inside this, some valid Java code. This is the syntax of Java class. Then in this syntax, any new thing for us? Yes, there is a access modifier is new word for us. What is the meaning of this? Then what is allowed in place of this access modifier? So when it comes to this access modifier, in a real-time scenario, for example, if I ask you to, can I have your mobile? Can I use your mobile? Can I use your mobiles? Directly can I use? No, I need to take your permission, or you have to unlock your phone and give me, then only I can use your mobile. Or same way, if I want to use your laptop, then you have to give me the access, or you have to give me the permission with a password, then only I can use your devices. Similarly, access modifier also will give us a permission who can use my class data. This is having some variables and all those things, right? Then who can use this class data can be controlled give by the access modifier word. Whatever we are going to write in place of this access modifier, that will control. For example, there is a ATM machine, which is nothing but a computer only. So that who can use that computer? Everybody can use the computer. Any restrictions are there? No, it's a public, right? Next, if I want to access your laptop, can everybody use your laptop or mobile phones? No, they are private to us, right? The next, for example, this institute is providing the systems for your practice. Who can use those systems? Yeah, all the company members can use the systems. Can outsider come and use it? No, it means there is a further restriction. Public means everybody, private means only individual. Then if it is something like a lab systems, then all the allowed members are allowed to use it. It means outsiders are not allowed, only inner members. It means from larger to little less, and then further private it is becoming. So like that, in Java also there are 4 access modifiers out there, which can be controlling the access of that. So in place of this access modifier, the allowed keywords are public. The next, protected. The next, default. The next, private. So these are the 4 allowed access modifiers in Java as of now. Okay. The meaning of access modifier, as we discussed, access modifier AM is used to control the access. To control the access of members. Yeah. Are you getting me? Yeah, guys, are you getting me? Yeah. So here, so when we use public, that means everybody can access this class members. When we use protected, then there is a little bit restriction is there. Outsiders are not allowed. Then when we use default, then further restriction is there. Then it's private, nobody can use it except this class only. So that's what the meaning of it. And here one important point to note, the default is not a keyword for access modifier. I repeat my statement, default is not a keyword for access modifier. It's a keyword for something else, but not for access modifiers in Java. Yeah. So remaining, we are going to type as public word. We are going to type protected. We are going to type private, but we are not going to type default as an access modifier. It's a point to remember. Then the second part, class. Class is a predefined keyword. Like int is a predefined keyword, so we have to use as it is. Similarly, class is also, it's a predefined keyword, so we have to use as it is. I'm sorry. Class is a predefined keyword. The next, in last class also I mentioned, whenever I'm using some Angular brackets, then that means class name is a programmer choice. Being a programmer, we can give any name to the class. So we have to give a meaningful name by following some standards. So this is about the Java class syntax. Is it understood? What a class generally have as a members? The members of a class. So here whatever we write, they become members of class. So as of now, if you see the basic syntax that we already used in the previous classes, that is class can have variables and class can have methods. That's what we can see. In very first class, I mentioned that just as of now, follow it. Now we observe the same thing. What is this public? Access modifier. What is this class? Predefined keyword. What is this sample? Programmer defined class name. Inside this opening of the class, what is this? Public static void main. This simple parenthesis, whenever we see in any programming language, that is a method. It's also called as functional. Yeah. So main is one method in Java program. Inside this, what is there? Some variables with some data. So this is what I mentioned here. A class can have the variables and also methods. Understood? Then the next part, I didn't complete yet why it's called as virtual. So I'm going for the next part of the class based on the syntax. Why we have to use classes? So for this, let me use one example. Say there is something called as a laptop is there. What it has? It has some make or company or brand. It has some memory. Yeah. And it has some the operating system. It has some price or cost. Yeah. So this is one laptop with some details about it. Some make, let me take it as some Lenovo. Its memory is some 8 GB RAM. I mean, its OS, say Windows OS. Its price is say some 30,000. So then how do we use this data into Java programming language? So for that, we have to create a class. So why class? Class is used to store data in terms of variables and to perform some tasks in terms of methods. So first, so since we didn't discuss anything about methods as of now, so I'm saying that class is used to store data. Then how do we create a class to store this data? So for that, all our previous discussed thing only, the class syntax. What's the first one? Access modifier. Till we discuss about remaining access modifiers. That is what is protected means, what is default means, what's private means. Till we discuss them in detail. So whenever access modifier comes, we are going to use public or in some scenarios, default also. Okay. So that's why. So in this syntax, I'm using public is the access modifier. Then followed by class keyword. Then a class name. So I have some meaningful name for this. Since the data belongs to laptop, I'll give the class name as laptop. Then the class body to start with open and close curly braces. Then inside this class, what we have to do? Store this data. Correct or not? Lenovo is what type of data? Yeah, it's what type? Primitive types or non-primitive? What string type? Therefore, to store this word called Lenovo, we have to use string type, string as a data type. Then make is my meaningful variable name or company, whatever it is. Then assignment operator, string data must be enclosed in double quotes. Then my value is Lenovo. Correct? The next, how do you store this 8 GB? Again, string only because of GB. So string some memory or RAM equals in double quotes, say 8 GB. The next, OS, again string only. Then OS is my variable equals Windows is my data in double quotes. The next price, since it is 30,000, it's a range of int only. So int some cost or price is a variable name equals 30,000. No comma, please. Normally we write value means 30,000 like this. But in programming language, this comma is not allowed. So this is how a class is used to store the data. Understood? So if this is clear, now here's the next point. Can we print this data? Can we print this data? For example, in the same class only, I'm writing one print statement called system.out.println. Say print the variable name I'm using. So therefore, no double quotes or no single quotes for the variable names. Then this line of code will give what output? Lenovo. Correct? So this is a compilation error. CE means compilation error. We cannot have this line of code. It's error. You have to save it? No, that saving is fine. No, even if you save also, still that is a error only. What's the reason? The reason is when it comes to print syntax, system.out.println, this syntax is allowed to use where this is allowed to use inside a method only. Outside a method, we cannot have the syntax or we cannot write the syntax that is always gives a compile time error. Do we have any main method here? No. That's why it is a error in this. A point to remember. Okay. So I'll write this. This syntax is allowed inside method only. We cannot write outside method. Method or function. Now, do we have any method inside this laptop class? No, it's not possible. Then in order to access this, where we have to start? Yeah, we have to have a main method, then only we have to execute that and all. That is our next part. That's our next part. How to print it is our next part. Okay. So before that, there are some properties of a class. So here I just try to convince you what is the purpose of a class. Class is used to store some data and have some functions or methods. So this is just for our discussion only. So I'll tell you how to print this. Before that, there are some properties of a class. Properties of class. So in one Java file, how many classes we can have? A Java file means something like sample.java, test.java. That's called a Java file. A Java file can have how many classes? N number of classes. So there can be N number of classes in one single file. So what's the meaning of that? So for example, if I come back to Eclipse, so I'll close this previous file and so here I'll create a new project. So file new Java project. So I'll name this project as some class demo, no space. And inside this project, I'll take a package. So I'm using shortcuts since you know the process. Some com dot the company name dot class is a keyword, so we cannot use it. So I'm using class sample is a part of package name. Then I'll go for a class. So I'll name this class as some test. Okay. I'm selecting main method also. Then finish. Now what is this? Test.java is one Java file. What is my question? How many classes a Java file can have? So here, how many classes a Java file can have? Any number of classes. So here I am using class keyword, then class A and a class body. Is it accepted? Yes. Then I'm using class B, then class B body. Accepted? Then class, some class name C and body. Accepted? So like this, a Java file can have any number of classes or n number of classes. And here you may have one doubt. So here, what is access modifier? Public. Here, are we using any access modifier? No. Then what's access modifier? That's the meaning of a default. When we don't write anything in place of access modifier, then that becomes a class with default access modifier. So this A, B, C are classes with default access modifier. Understood? Yeah. So that's the first property. This is the first property. A Java file can have n number of classes. Then the next question or the next property, a Java file can have how many public classes? A Java file can have how many public classes? I mean public with that as a access modifier. How many public classes? Any idea? Only one. Only one public class is allowed in one Java file or in one .java file. So now let us observe. Here I am making this class as public. What happens immediately in line number 13? We are getting a error. It means, can we make this class as public? No, because already in the same file, one more class called a test class is public. Therefore, can we have one more public class? We cannot have. That's the reason we are getting the error. Yeah. But here, I'll remove this public. Now, how many public classes are there? Only one. But I said only one is allowed, but still we are getting the error. So now I'll cut this main method from here and I'll paste that main method here. Still the error remains same. That's not the answer. Any other reasons? No. Okay. So that is the next point. So here we said a Java file can have only one public class at maximum. But which file can be public? First class, you mean in the order? So you, okay, here I got to answer that in the order. Then I'll do one thing. I'll cut this here. I'll paste this as a first class. Before this class test, I'm pasting that class. Still the error remains same. Therefore, even first class also not a valid point. So no need, not with main method, not with the first class as well. Then the conclusion here is, sorry, which one? No, we, okay. So at the time of creation itself. Okay, yeah, then your point is correct. So here, the file name and the class name has to be same. Only such classes are allowed as a public classes. So what do I mean is, the Java file name and public class name. Public class means class with public access modifier. Java file name and public class name must be same. What's the meaning of it? So now if you just observe, what's the file name here? Test.java. What's the class name here? A. Then a file name and class name are matching? That's why it cannot be public class. Now here the file name is matching the class name. Only this class is allowed as a public class if at all we want it. So this is not allowed as a public class, irrespective of the order, irrespective of main method is there or not there. The file name and a public class name has to be same. Then only it is allowed as a public class. Yeah. Sorry. The next, can we remove this public also? Zero classes with public access modifier. No classes having public access modifier. Is it possible? Or it's mandatory that it should be, there should be one public class? Mandatory? Not mandatory. Just observe, even for test also I'm removing the public access modifier. Still it's accepted? Yes, I saved it, it's accepted, right? So here, that's why I said at maximum a file can have only one public class at a maximum. Minimum all files can be non-public class also. All classes can be non-public class also. That's one more property to remember. Next, a class can have variables and also methods. So that's already we discussed in the previous class. I mean previous slide. So these are some properties of a Java class here. Do you have any questions on this class? On these properties, do you have any questions? No. Yeah. So then the next important point we should know, that is what is Java program execution starting point and what is Java program execution ending point of JVM. So why we are unable to print it here? So it's because of execution is not happening from this class. Okay. So from where the execution will happen, say for example, I'll make all the changes back, where test class I'll make it as a first class. So now you can see here. So in the same file, there is only one public class which is same as a file name, and inside that there is a main method. Then these remaining classes I'm just removing, and then we discussed one class called as a laptop class. Correct? Inside this we have some data and string some make or company equals in double quotes cell Lenovo, and remaining data I am not typing, only I'll type one more. So int price equals some value called 30,000. Yeah. So now from this, if we use a print syntax, system dot out dot print ln, then here I'm using a make semicolon. Is it accepted? No. So like we discussed, print function is allowed to use inside a method body or function body only. So because of that, it is not allowed in this. Then where can we use this one? So since these two classes are present in the same file, same Java file, now from the main method, can we use the variable make? Still here also, we are getting the error saying that in line number 7, make cannot be resolved as a to a variable. It's not allowed. Then he's suggesting something like we have to use some class name dot make. Still it is error only. Yeah. So why we have to define this there? That's our next concept. Okay. So before that, so if we use a variable directly here, I mean some int x equals some value. Then next, I'm using a print function and I'm printing this x variable. Now, is it correct? This is what we did in data types concept, right? Now let me execute. So we can see the output of x value as a 100 in the console. Correct? But why we are unable to print this make or price? What is happening there? It's in a different class, right? So from the same file, because class is not in the, sorry, These variables are not in the same class called test class where main method is there. It is in a, they are defined in a separate class. That's the reason. So it is not happening the execution. So because execution is not happening, the data is not loaded into the memory. So because not loaded, we can't access back to printer to perform something else. That is the main reason behind it. So let me explain that. So for example, if I take same class, if I take same class, say class, some laptop, and inside this one, I'll take one string, some make equals, some make, then followed by some int cost equals some value. That's it. So here, what do we have? We have one more public class, some test class. And inside this public static void main. I'm using short forms, please understand it. Then string, then args. Then inside this, we are having one variable, and so this variable we can print it by using a print function to see its output. This is happening. What is this is happening? So can we print this make or can we print this cost? No, it's not happening because whenever any Java program execution will start, who will execute a Java program? JVM. So when JVM starts execution in a Java program, always the execution starts from first line of main method. This is where JVM will start, or more clearly, from opening curly brace of the main method, JVM will start execution. This is a starting point of Java program execution. What JVM executes? All the lines of code which are present inside the main method, directly having some relation or indirectly having some relation, but execution is done from open curly brace of main method, then line after the line inside main method only will be executed by JVM. Once everything is done, then JVM reaches to closed curly brace of main method. This is the JVM's execution end point or stopping point. This is starting point and this is the ending point of Java program execution. And in this part, is JVM is coming to this laptop class and executing these lines of code? No, it is not happening because JVM executes this line of code, and because of this line of code inside the memory, as we already discussed. So there 4 bytes of memory will be allocated. X is a variable name, 100 is the value. It means the value is consuming some memory or it's occupying some memory. Correct or not? And here when it comes to this make variable, is it getting loaded into the memory? No. Is cost variable, is it loaded into the memory? No. But they are there in our part of code. They are there in our part of code and is happily accepted also. We are not getting any errors. But we are unable to print that or get the data. That's the reason a Java class is called as a virtual entity. It is just there. Virtually it is there. But does it have any memory presence? No memory presence. It doesn't occupy any memory. That's why it's called as a Java class by default is called as virtual entity because no physical memory consumption for the class members or class data. That's the point. Is it understood? Yeah. So because of that reason, no loading of memory. Therefore, we can't access back. Here X is loaded into the memory, then we can access back by using a printing or by performing some X plus 10, X plus 20, some arithmetic operations. We can do it. But since this is not loaded, we can't access back. So that's the reason behind why a Java class is called as a virtual entity. It's an interview question, you should be able to answer. Because JVM will not execute this laptop class. What's one more reason? Because there is no relation from laptop class to the main method. Do we have anything here? No relation. That's why JVM will not execute. Because JVM will not execute, the variables and methods will not consume any memory. Because they won't consume any memory, they were there just as a virtually. like our house diagram, like a car picture. So like that, there, it is just there. Then you may get a cross question. So since we are saving this file, now where is this data is loaded? Where this will be stored? In our hard disk, not in the RAM. This laptop class data, where it is present, because we are saving a file, it has to be saved somewhere. Where it is? It is in our hard disk part, but not in the RAM. Not in the RAM, but in the hard disk it is stored. Yeah. So this is what the meaning of a programmatic meaning of why a Java class is called as a virtual entity. Am I clear? Yeah. Then next, how do we make this as a physical entity? So that the memory will be consumed, or the data will be loaded into the memory. Then once it is loaded into the memory, then how can we access it back? That's our second part of class definition. What is the definition? Class is used to create the object. So that because class is used to create the object, with the help of object creation, the data will be loaded into the memory and we can access it back from there onwards. So that is our next concept. So we will discuss in tomorrow's class. So with this, I will stop for the day.